A Wall Street Journal reporter gets a long sentence in a Russian spying case. Some good Samaritans help foil a carjacking and a fatal hit and run in Murfreesboro. We'll have those stories at 2 p.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, John Michael. Jay St. Clair with us for a few more moments. We'll go rapid fire with a few of your questions from the membersnutrition.com super text line 156. Good afternoon from Super Talk 99.7 WTN and the Matt Murphy Show. This caller writes in from Wisconsin. That's where the phone call, says it's coming from. 7010 says, my parents died without a will. One child alive. Well, it doesn't say my parents, Jay. It says parents died without a will. One child alive, two deceased. Are grandchildren, great-grandchildren entitled to a portion of the estate?
Yeah, I'm assuming it's in Wisconsin. You know, every state's a little bit different, Matt, but the answer to that is yes.
Okay.
Because let's say they had three kids. One of them's living and two of them's dead, but they had kids. Well, the grandchildren take a share that would have gone to the kids. And it depended upon the state. You know this. I'm sorry I even have to say it. It will either be per stirpes or per capital. And I know you.
I know very well because Jay knows. And for those who don't, I had to go through it with my grandfather, and it was it's always a pain in the proverbial tuchus. Hey, Matt.
The answer to that question is yes.
Okay. Hey, Matt, could you ask Jay if there are any updates on the non-compete issue?
You know, there was a limited injunction entered, as I recall. It's not nationwide. So I think that regulation may have taken effect now. I think that's right. You know, I'm embarrassed. I should know that with certainty. We hadn't had a lot of chatter about it. I hadn't had a lot of clients asking me about it. So I'm embarrassed to tell you I can't give you a 100% certainty answer on that. But let me look that up because I know this is a matter of great interest to you. You've asked about it several times, and I'll do my homework, sir, and be full prepared to talk about that next Friday.
And finally, Jay, can President Donald Trump legally put the Army on the border without any poop emoji from Congress? They used the actual poop emoji, Jay, when they asked this question. So that's why I said poop emoji, because that's what they used.
Oh shoot! What's the commie? There's this hilarious movie. There's the Commie Posse,
Posse Comitatus, I think.
Posse Comitatus Act that says that they're not supposed to use the Army to enforce, civilian law. Mm-hmm. There's this great movie with Jim Rockford in it. I think it's called Tank. And so anyway, he gets it, and he's having a problem with an Army base. He steals a tank, and the guy, and he goes to law enforcement and says, "Well, you got to help him." He said, "Well, I can't do it because of the what's the word again?
Posse Comitatus."
Yeah, Posse Comitatus Act. And he mishears him, and he said, "Are you calling me a blank communist?" It's hilarious.
I think there could be like a national declaration of emergency, which would give the president the ability to call up National Guard troops. But
yeah, he could finagle his way. Well, I mean, here's the deal with Biden: you just do it. I mean, right? I mean, what you just do it. I mean, Biden's just not enforcing the law. You just go do it.
Agreed. Jay,
what are they going to do? Sue him?
Yeah. Jay, great stuff as always. You know how much we love you and appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time today, and hit them straight this weekend. We'll talk to you again very soon, my friend.
Love you, brother.
Take care. There's Jay St. Clair. Good session of Friday on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Another hour to go. We'll review fully what we know today regarding the assassination attempt on Donald J. Trump. We will also review today what we know about what's going on within Camp Biden. Operation Save Joe's not going so well, friends. It's just a knot. We'll discuss next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Plus your telephone calls. It's the First Amendment Freestyle Friday. John Michael's next.
It's 2 o'clock. I'm John Michael with your top stories. Cloudy and 84 degrees, full forecast in 2 minutes. Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershowitz found guilty of espionage in a Russian court. He was sentenced to 16 years in a penal colony. The journalist has been held for 15 months on charges widely considered fabricated. Here's ABC's Patrick Reevell.
We watched a Russian judge in the city of Yekaterinburg deliver that verdict that was expected, sentencing Evan Gershkovich, the Wall Street Journal reporter, to 16 years in a prison camp, finding him guilty of espionage. The 32-year-old American was in a glass cage in court. He pled not guilty, and this verdict was expected. The U.S. and the Wall Street Journal have both denounced this trial as a sham, the newspaper calling this verdict a disgrace.
And when it comes to a prisoner swap potential, WNBA star Brittany Griner was freed by way of a swap last year. A man is facing charges for an alleged carjacking at an auto shop Thursday morning. Metro Police say it happened at Lucky's Custom Wheels and Tires on Lafayette Street. According to police, 27-year-old Cedric Taylor is accused of approaching a woman sitting in her car, then punching her while demanding money. Authorities say the suspect pulled the woman from the car, then she ran into the business for help before Taylor could put the car in drive. The business owner and others busted the driver's side window. With the victim's permission, forced Taylor out through the passenger side. This is all according to police. The business owner and another witness detained Taylor until officers arrived on the scene. A bicyclist struck by a vehicle that left the scene of an accident on South Rutherford Boulevard Thursday evening in Murfreesboro has died. Police said the bicyclist was struck by a vehicle around 5:30 Thursday near Walmart. South Rutherford Boulevard was closed between Billy and Haven Drive during the course of the investigation. The driver of the vehicle left the scene. The vehicle was found and the driver's in custody pending charges. Murfreesboro Police Fatal Accident Crash Team is investigating the cause of the crash. ESPN has ranked the top athletes so far this century, and the list might surprise you or not, says Sherry Preston.
It wasn't Tom Brady who topped the list. The longtime New England Patriots quarterback only came in fifth. Simone Biles, Roger Federer, and LeBron James were all in the top 10, but they weren't number one. Even the great Serena Williams came in second to 23-time Olympic gold medal swimmer Michael Phelps, dubbed the number one athlete of the 21st century by ESPN.
Surprisingly, Belle Kay and Matt Murphy were left off that list as well. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm John Michael, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy here for USS. That stands for United Structural Systems. We'd love for you to give a call to United Structural Systems if you think you need them. And if you don't know whether you need them or not, let's talk about a few things. Do you smell a musty, moldy smell in your basement or your crawl space? You need to call USS. Do you have doors or windows that are sticking for no reason? Perhaps they did not stick at one point and now they are. You need to call USS. Do you notice that traditional stair-step crack running through mortar joints in your basement or your crawl space, you need to call USS. Do you have cracks in your concrete, in your driveway? USS, that's the place to call. All of these things can be simply and easily solved. Thank you to USS. That's United Structural Systems. Give them a call today at 615-488-7855, 488-7855, or USSTN.com. They've been keeping homes stable and dry since 1994. For 30 years now, they've been helping people just like you. 25,000 satisfied residential customers. USSTN.com. Give them a call to tell them I sent you to USS. My favorite, I'm much lower. I don't know why. My favorite 3 hours of the day, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Bell K, you only got an hour to go. Come on, baby. Let's go. Make it happen. 7 minutes after the hour of 2. Your call's coming up, 615-737-9986. It's First Amendment Freestyle Friday. Whatever's on your mind. You want to talk about Joe Biden and the possibility of Joe being off the ticket, Kamala being on the ticket. We're going to discuss this hour. How does that happen? Well, one of two ways, either willingly or unwillingly, and we'll discuss both. We can also talk about the latest on the assassination attempt against Donald Trump, his huge speech last night. What an incredible event last evening. I mean, I felt like God was in the room. I felt like, always in the presence of God, but particularly as Donald Trump was describing his thoughts and feelings in the aftermath of having to go to the ground and believing that, or knowing that he had been shot. Man, oh man, it was emotional. I get emotional talking about it even today. If you missed any of that, you need to go back and watch some of it. Then there was Hulk Hogan. There was Dana White. There were a lot of different great speakers. Eric Trump delivered a fabulous speech last night. Tucker did as well. In the meantime, Joe Biden's not having a good week at all. His physician provided an update on his condition since testing positive for COVID-19. The physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, wrote in an update this morning the following. President Biden completed his 4th dose of Paxlovid this morning. Oh, well, good for him. His loose, non-productive cough. Oh, boy. When he said loose, I thought we were going a different direction. We're talking about cough. His loose, non-productive cough and hoarseness continue to be his primary symptoms, but they have improved meaningfully from yesterday. His pulse, blood pressure, respiratory rate, and temperature remain absolutely normal. His oxygen saturation continues to be excellent on room air. His lungs remain clear. O'Connor said that Biden was still positive for COVID-19 as of yesterday. I have no idea what the protocol is for COVID-19 right now. Apparently, someone at the Washington Examiner decided that it was important enough that they went through some of the protocols that Joe Biden has to go through one way or the other. I don't know that Joe Biden has COVID-19. I don't know what to believe out of this White House and out of this presidency. I would not suggest one way or the other whether he has it or not. I can understand why some would suggest that he doesn't. It gives him a convenient reason to get off the campaign trail and try to reassess his presidential candidacy. And there's a lot of reassessment of his presidential candidacy. In the meantime, Vice President Kamala Harris, seen to be the heir apparent should Joe Biden step aside, made an impromptu stop earlier today at the Smeeze and Dream, which is an ice cream shop in Washington, D.C. I guess like president, like vice president, right? Like father, like son, like president, like vice president. Joe goes to the ice cream parlor. Why wouldn't Kamala? The ice cream parlor in question is owned by actress Tyra Banks. Harris refused to take reporters' questions as a torrent of lawmakers, 31 of them in all now, called on President Joe Biden to withdraw from the race. In the meantime, Facebook supporters are all mad at Mark Zuckerberg because he had the audacity to praise Donald Trump. Good for you, Mark Zuckerberg. As one of the richest people on planet Earth, you shouldn't be afraid of some of these woke clowns coming after you. Now, should you? Mark Zuckerberg saying, on a personal note, seeing Donald Trump get up after being shot in the face and pumping his fist in the air with the American flag in the background is one of the most replete things I've ever seen in my life, said Mark Zuckerberg. He's right. There's a reason the mainstream media is attempting to spike this photograph. There's a reason mainstream media doesn't want you to see this photograph. Tyra Banks told Kamala Harris today and her grandnieces about why she opened the ice cream shop. Harris ordered the ice cream flavor Cap Hill Crunch and refused to answer shouted questions from reporters about her plans. Harris is slated to address a group of Democrat donors later on today as pressure mounts against Joe Biden. So you've got 31 individuals attempting to get him out. I mean, this is the real coup, friends. You want to talk about an anti-democratic movement. Say what you will about Joe Biden's infirmity. That's fine. Say what you will about Joe Biden's inability to campaign. Say what you will about Joe Biden's inability to govern. I wasn't the one that covered it up. I wasn't the one that shielded it from the voters. I wasn't the one that prevented Robert Kennedy Jr. from being on the Democrat ballot. Those were all Democrat actions taken by Democrats.
You know, they keep saying democracy is on the ballot, and I think it was, but it was during the Democrat primary.
One would think, right? I mean, so explain to me how this is democracy, quote unquote, when you had a primary process, you have pledged to delegates. The guy in question says he's not going anywhere, consistently refuses to accept the idea of stepping down, yet you're going to replace him anyway? Is that democracy on the ballot? Or is that superseding the idea? They've already done so. They refused to allow Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's been a Democrat all of his life, to even get on the ballot, on the primary ballot, because how dare he challenge the king, who, by the way, said that he was a bridge president, said that he was a one-termer. 3568 says Kamala going to the ice cream shop makes her presidential. Well, for this president, yes, it does. Yes, it does. 0845 notes what we talked about yesterday, and that is that Joe Biden did not wear a mask. It was one of the funnier commentaries that I've heard in a long time on a mainstream media network. I believe that it was #NeverCNN. I watch #NeverCNN so you don't have to. I get no joy, no pleasure from it. #NeverCNN is a garbage network full of garbage people spewing out, well, garbage. Don't watch. Don't support. I'll do it, and I'll report back. And I'm watching #NeverCNN, and he goes up the plane one step at a time. You know, he does the one step and stop, and 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 the one step. And he finally gets up there. And then they show him getting off the plane, and he's doing the two-step and stop. 2, 1, 2, stop. 1, 2, stop. You think this guy's never going to make it to the car, but he doesn't have a mask on either time. And this commentator, realizing that we're exposing the lies that they told us throughout COVID-19, says Joe Biden does not have a mask as he's getting off Air Force One, but you'll note here as he gets into the automobile, he puts a mask on immediately. Oh, why don't you cram it? And, oh, by the way, masks don't work. Never did. Oh, by the way, like 3 hours before then, Joe Biden was slobbering over somebody's guacamole salad at a Mexican restaurant in Las Vegas. I don't know if you saw those images. He's like leaning over, drooling in the salsa. Salsa, pardon me, I always put a Z in there. So 12:15 on the membersnutrition.com super text line says, Matt, have you seen the video of the figure at the water tower? You can clearly tell it's a person because they're moving. This is definitely a conspiracy. I will. I'll look into that. I saw a still image of something that looked like a black dot on the water tower. One way or the other, I don't think any shot. Nobody is suggesting that any shots came from the water tower. I've seen the conspiracy about the water tower. I've also seen the conspiracy about the woman in the hat on the cell phone behind Donald Trump. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, she's supposedly a member of the FBI.
Right, which
Special agent or something.
So help me understand this. Like, look, this is an intelligence failure extraordinaire. And I am not in for one moment suggesting that there's not more to this story. I am not for 1 second suggesting that there might not be more coming up. But we have to just deal with these things as they pop up, and I give you my analysis, my assessment of what's going on. You can agree, you can disagree. If you disagree, you can give us a call. If you agree, you just give us a call. It's all good. But the photograph of the woman wearing the choker, the black choker and the glasses with the longer hair, that's not the guy that shot the shots. That's a different person. Everybody's going, why aren't they using this picture of the shooter? Because that's not the shooter. That's why.
I don't know if you're right about that. I think that that person may have been positioned on the grassy knoll.
Maybe. I mean, that might be the person that was on the water tower. I don't know. But I don't think that was the person on top of the roof. Secondarily, my first question, when this issue of the woman acting strangely behind Trump came up, I understand that she seems to be acting strangely. I agree with you. There is not a lot of reaction out of her. There's a lot of reaction out of people around her. She does not give a lot of reaction. For those who have not seen the video, it's a woman in a hat. She's behind Trump in the audience assembled behind him. Now, there's a lot of vetting that goes into people being behind Trump. I would be shocked if they did not have to identify themselves by name to get behind Trump. You have to be a super supporter to get there in that position. So someone somewhere knows who that person is. And we'll get to the bottom of it. But there are some that are suggesting that this is the assistant director of the FBI or something like that. And my first thought when I saw this last night was, if that's true, how in the hell do you not think you're going to get found out if you're the assistant director of the... Why would the assistant director of the FBI be the person that they seat behind Donald Trump to witness the execution of Donald Trump? That would make no sense. You're begging to be caught. If I walk through this conspiracy with you, once again, not discounting anything, I'm just trying to work it out in my head, as we all do. So you've got a big conspiracy and you're trying to kill the former president. Okay? And for some reason, you need someone behind the stage. I mean, what is the suggestion, Bell, that person was there to document because that's why they picked up their phone? I don't understand the purpose of this conspiracy theory.
And why is it unusual that they would have their phone out to film the president giving a speech?
Well, and a lot of people got their phones out when they realized that there were shots being fired. A lot of people recorded that event. Now, once again, I don't know who that person was. But I've seen the side-by-side comparisons of the individual behind Donald Trump and the assistant director of the FBI, a female, and I don't see it. I just don't see it. Dan, AJ, and Jimmy will get to you on a First Amendment Freestyle Friday in just a moment. Jason thinks Lee Harvey Oswald shot Donald Trump. Maybe. I don't know. They're trying to, that's what they're doing. 3145 is on top of it. They're trying to use this lady behind Donald Trump. Remember the babushka lady? The woman in the babushka at the JFK assassination? There was a woman in a babushka. I think I'm saying that right. Am I saying that right? I don't care. Babushka? I like saying it that way.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna
they
go
call her
with
the babushka lady.
You know, she's got the thing on.
She got the scarf over her head and the jacket on.
And they're like, what's this woman doing? What's her deal? And then there was the guy in the umbrella, and they like, oh, he did the umbrella, and then they shot him. So that was the signal.
The umbrella was a gun.
And you know, they found that guy later on, and he said that he had an umbrella. He was trying to protect his skin. He was protecting himself from the sun, which is why he had an umbrella.
Well, he was just killing two birds with one stone. He was, it was a gun, but he could use it as an umbrella.
You said killing. Have you ever been to Dallas, to Dealey Plaza?
Yeah, I lived there for 6 years.
I guess that's a stupid question. I knew the answer to that. Did you go down to Dealey?
I did. Odd, though, the very first time I went to Dallas, I was there when I was living here. I went down there for a weekend, and somebody took me through Dealey Plaza, and they're like, this is where Kennedy got shot. And I'm like, where? And we're stopped because certain times of day, Dealey doesn't get much traffic. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, where's it at? And he goes, we're sitting in the spot. The car is parked where you got hit.
On the X.
Yeah. And and all of a sudden it hits me what's going on, where we are. And everything starts to come. Oh, that's the hill.
That's the grassy knoll. I was there some years ago. We went up to the 6th floor book depository where they have a replica. I mean, they have the books up there. They have a museum. They have a replica of what was referred to as the sniper's nest that Lee Harvey Oswald reportedly constructed to shield himself from other workers while he waited on
It's got plexiglass walls around it.
Yeah. So you can't get there. But you can. They give you an opportunity. They have a window there.
Yeah.
Where you can walk up to the window, and the window's cracked, and you can see the angle of how Lee Harvey Oswald would have gotten the shot. I don't know why in the world he would not have shot him when he was coming down. What was that, Houston? When he turned right, when the motorcade turned right and was going directly toward the book depository, unless he was not in a position just yet to do the shot.
Maybe he was late getting into the spot or something.
Or whatever, like but because it was a much easier shot coming toward him than it would have been going an angle and away from him. But we were there waiting. You know, there's always a little bit of a line where people want to stand there in position and kind of let the moment wash over them. And we were there in the middle of summer, and obviously Kennedy was shot November 22nd, 1963. And there's an older woman and an older man in front of us. And it's my wife and I there, and Eric and I are waiting our turn, and the older man says, well, this is ridiculous. There's no way he could make that shot through all of these trees.
Oh, good Lord.
And the woman did exactly what you just did, Bill. She said, like, oh, Lord. And she said, it was 40 years ago, idiot. Those trees weren't there.
Or they've certainly grown a lot since then.
And he said, and it was fall, so there were no leaves on them. It was pretty funny. And the guy immediately knew what he had said.
He stepped in it and
just
had to backtrack.
Got out of it. But no, it's incredible. And the moment in history, and we'll remember that moment in history, maybe not the location and maybe not with the gravity that the Kennedy assassination has, because Donald Trump was not killed, but we did lose life last Saturday in Butler, Pennsylvania. And so we'll remember that moment in a similar fashion. And there will be conspiracy theories, and there will be regular theories, and there will be conversation, and we don't know what we don't know. And the Secret Service sure as hell isn't helping any of this because they have been so tight-lipped. Your calls, your thoughts, your theories when we return on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy here all month long for the month of July. Kraft Body Scan is offering a couple's heart and lung scan for only $149. These couples' heart and lung scans are valued at over $2,500. It's a huge savings for anyone looking for a simple and non-invasive way to check their heart, check their lungs, and make sure their health is A-OK. We've heard from countless numbers of people who've said there were lives saved as a result of these scans because they can find things in your body before you feel what's going on in your body. And the longer you go, obviously, the worse the situation is going to get. It's not going to go away on its own. Major issues can be discovered even with no symptoms. Take a proactive step toward better health, friends, by going to Kraft Body Scan today. Book your couple's heart and lung scan by stopping by togetherwescan.com. That's the new name for the website, togetherwescan.com, or call 615-436-1000. 615-436-1000. It's non-invasive. You don't have to worry about, you don't have to take off your clothes. You just get the keys out of your pocket. You get a consultation, and off you go, a 5 to 8 minute scan. No referral necessary. 615-436-1000 for Kraft Body Scan.
It's 2:30. I'm John Michael with your top stories. Mostly sunny and 84 degrees on Music Row. Your forecast is on the way. Air travel is a mess today because of the Friday morning global IT meltdown linked to a problem with security software used by many large companies. Over 2,000 flights have been canceled in the U.S. and over 6,000 delayed. More from ABC's Alex Stone.
No more ground stops are in place, but for a while today, major airlines like United, Delta, American, Spirit, and Sun Country were holding flights at their gates while systems were down. That has impacted the entire day of travel. Nathan, heading to Nashville, says it was a mess.
We did hear them say they were going to do some manual boarding and try to do it manually to get everybody checked in.
Two airlines that specifically were not impacted, Southwest and JetBlue.
And although those airlines fly out of Nashville, BNA had its share of trouble this morning, but it is pretty much back to normal right now. A bicyclist struck by a vehicle that left the scene of the accident on South Rutherford Boulevard on Thursday evening has died, according to Murfreesboro Police and WSMV. Police said the bicyclist was struck by a vehicle around 5:30 p.m. near Walmart. South Rutherford Boulevard was closed between Billy Boulevard and Haven Drive. During the course of the investigation, the driver of the vehicle left the scene, according to police, but the vehicle was found and the driver is in custody with charges pending. Murfreesboro Police's fatal accident crash team is investigating the cause of the crash. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm John Michael, WTN News.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy, and allow me a moment to talk to you about the one and only Glock store. If you've never been, you've got to go. If you live in and around the Nashville area, you owe it to yourself to go to the biggest and the best gun store around, and that is the Glock store. You know, when I first walked through the doors, I said, I've got to start talking about these folks on the radio, and they allow me to do that on a daily basis, and I absolutely love it. Now, I own 2 Glocks. I own an array of handguns and long guns. 2 of them happen to be Glocks. I've got a Glock 20 and a Glock 43. There's a reason that they call it the Glock store. If it has anything to do with the Glock, they've got it in stock. You can bet it's on the shelf or it's in the warehouse ready to be brought out. They have all of the latest stuff, including performance parts. You can upgrade, you can customize at the Glock store. And I go to the Source, the Glock store, where you get your performance parts installed for free while you wait. Of course, they have the incredible, incomparable shooting ranges, never lanes, ranges. The Shoot 270 indoor ranges come with an instructor. If you schedule this, you get the room, an instructor, and you. And oftentimes you can bring a spouse or a loved one, and you guys can get instruction together. I've been to a lot of gun stores, folks. I believe in the Second Amendment. I've been to a lot of indoor ranges as well. But once I found the Glock store, I knew I was home. It's the Glock store, Airlane Drive, just off of Elm Hill Pike and Briley Parkway. Glock store and glockstore.com. Supertalk 99.7 WTN, as promised. Kathy reminded me, hey, Murphy, you promised us you would tell us how this process works if Joe Biden is to be removed as the candidate for president of the United States of America from the Democrat Party. Here's the deal. I'll go through it fairly quickly for you, but this is the game plan, either willingly or unwillingly. 37 after the hour, by the way. Matt Murphy and the Matt Murphy Show, Supertalk 99.7 WTN. By the way, as an aside, before I get into this, why is it that when we talk about theories, conspiracy and otherwise, I try not to use the term conspiracy theory, but because I'm open for anything. But what I have to deal in is evidence-based theories. So in the modern era, when people, I'll use the example of this photograph. Belle, did you see the picture of the long-haired person that apparently is a female but might be a male, impersonating a female with the choker on, and it's running
the
around
lip
the internet.
piercings, and
right.
Yeah, it's got like the Jay Leno chin,
and people are like, "Why aren't they using this as a picture of crooks?"
For the same reason that they're not using a picture of Flip Wilson.
Right, it's not him. And if you put two pictures beside one another, you can easily tell it's not him. So when I say that, I just find it interesting if I don't fully buy into certain theories that certain listeners have, and I'm not microcasting here, I'm broadcasting, they get mad at you.
You're in on it. You're part of it.
They get mad at you. Like all I said,
Murphy's a member of the deep state.
Right. All I've said is that I have not invested enough time to know what the theory is involving the water tower. That's all I said. And now I got people on the super text line telling me, you don't know all about the water tower, then you don't know about BlackRock and the commercial and blah, blah, blah. And
that water tower actually has a mechanism on top of it, which from a certain angle can look like something's up there from a distance, but there was nobody up there. That water tower is got something up there that's part of the water tower.
Well, if somebody, and I'm just asking questions. People like float these theories, and then like if you don't fully accept them without going, well, wait a minute. For example, why would the assistant director of the FBI sit behind Trump in plain sight and record the assassination of Donald Trump? Because that's been the suggestion. Oh, this is the assistant director of the FBI in this black hat. Now, I understand that it looks like this woman is acting in an odd fashion, but we can point out a lot of different people that acted odd. I don't know how I would act if I heard shots rang out at a presidential speech. I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I don't know what I would do. I'd poop my pants. I don't know what I would do. And I'm not saying that this is a good person or isn't. But I need more than just her acting in an odd fashion in the immediate seconds after Donald Trump was shot to say that she's in on it. Plus, that face and the woman's face that they're claiming she is, those faces don't match.
I know exactly what you would do.
What would I do? You
would pull out your radio and start screaming, I did not give the order to fire yet.
I would not do that. Stop. Don't. I was in Paul's office earlier. The new suit's not putting up with those types of comments anymore. New suit.
Then you need to stop saying them.
Can President Joe Biden be replaced at the top of the Democrat ticket? Yes. The easiest way to do so would be willingly. If Biden decided on his own to step aside, he would release his delegates, similar in the way that Nikki Haley released her very few delegates. Joe Biden could release his 3,894. He has 3,894 of the 3,937 committed delegates thus far. There are also super delegates. Those are in a different bucket in a different category. So if Joe Biden releases them, then it becomes an open convention. Joe Biden does not have any ability to appoint or compel a successor to himself. In other words, he cannot demand that his delegates vote for anyone else. They either vote for him or they can vote for anybody of their choosing. He can certainly endorse a successor, but we're being told that behind the scenes, they have no plans on endorsing anybody, including Vice President Kamala Harris. Harris would obviously be the most likely choice of about a half a dozen individuals to be the next presidential nominee. And if it's not Vice President Kamala Harris, I would expect massive Democrat defection this cycle. I would subscribe to the theory that if anything, they would cast Kamala Harris to the wolves so as to clean the slate for 2028, recognizing that one way or the other, they're likely to get their political brains beaten in come November. Biden and his team have about a week or so, maybe a little longer, to make this determination, to make this decision. Now, should Joe Biden say no, he's not going anywhere, here's what the party rules say about it. According to the Democrat Party rules, quote, all delegates to the National Convention pledged to a presidential candidate shall in all good conscience reflect the sentiments of those who elected them, end quote. My best friend in the world is Jay St. Clair. Jay is one of the finest lawyers I know, and if he's taught me anything about the law, it's all about the language. You take gray and you turn it into green, and the grayest of the gray sentiments in that last statement that I read to you was the phrase, in all good conscience. That's where the rubber meets the road. So in theory, you could convince enough delegates, even if Joe Biden says that he doesn't want to leave the ticket, you could convince 2,000 delegates that they ought not to be voting for Joe Biden in good conscience. That's a lot tougher row to hoe. The easiest path is to get those closest to him to convince Joe that there is no path forward. He's already moved off the mark. He at first said the only person that would get him out of the race was God Almighty. Now he's saying a medical condition that might prevent him from running might get him out of the race. And then suddenly he comes down with COVID-19. Go figure. Mr. Jimmy's next up on this Friday. Mr. Jimmy, did you watch Donald Trump last night?
I listened to the radio.
Oh, you listened to him. What'd you think, Mr. Jimmy?
Well, I've always, for me, it was hard for me to like Trump. I was born and raised in Memphis, and my whole family always voted the Democratic ticket. So I did too, up till Clinton. Till after Clinton, then I started voting Republicans. For me, Trump was like, he was hard to like for me. I don't know what it was I didn't like about him. But he was kind of like Presley. I knew Presley back in high school. We went to different high schools together. He went to Hughes when he was when he was a senior. I was a freshman. I went to a all boys Catholic high school, but it took me a long time to start liking Presley. The only reason why I didn't like him was because there was a park behind my mother's house on Willette Street. It was called the Williamson Park, and he would play touch football, and so I thought he was a chicken ass.
Whoa.
Or a sissy or something. So I didn't like him until later years. But Trump was about the same way. It took me a long time to warm up to Trump to like him as a Republican.
Have you warmed up to him, Mr. Jimmy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been voting for Trump the whole time he run.
Do you remember about what age you were when you were playing ball with Elvis?
Oh, I don't know, probably 13 or 14.
That's pretty cool. How long did you live in and around Memphis?
Oh, just about all my life. I got married to my first wife in 1964, and so I lived there from 47 to 64. But my whole family, I had 3 sisters, and they were all born in Memphis. My daddy joined the during the Second World War when the bombing of Pearl Harbor happened. My daddy went and joined the Navy, and he was stationed in Long Beach, California. So we all moved there. But me and my sisters all were born in Memphis. We moved back from the West Coast in 47.
Well, Mr. Jimmy, you know what? A lot of people are just like you, and I thank you for the call today, and you take good care and have a great weekend. A lot of people are like Mr. Jimmy. They didn't know what to make of the guy. I liked him I liked Donald Trump from his time, as a real estate mogul and as a commentator on social media, rather on societal things before social media. Loved him with The Apprentice. Obviously, it was a fabulous show on NBC. And then when he dipped his toe into the political world, I was a big fan from escalator on down. But some were not. Some were loath to the show and to the moment. But many, many people came around over the years, and now even more people are recognizing that the narrative presented by the mainstream press is incorrect. It's inaccurate. And Donald Trump went a long way in demonstrating that last night and relating what it was like to believe that he had lost his life. Meantime, liberals are left to question why he has a bandage on his ear. Liberals are actually questioning 34%. I saw this recent poll. This is not Babylon B. This is real. 34% of liberals asked to believe that Donald Trump staged it. That is mental insanity.
Well, they wanted their own QAnon. They were sad.
I suppose. I had one of my super texters tell me, that they had a liberal tell them that it was staged. And they said, well, let your guy do it too. No copyright on this stuff. Have at it. Good luck. Good luck. We'll make our way to Brian Wilson. We'll find out what's happening with Mr. Wilson this afternoon on The Drive. Coming up next, it is 2:49. You're listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, winding down our day and our week. What a week it has been. My goodness. A couple of things to note before we get out of here. One, while Joe Biden's camp faces increased scrutiny, I got a question on the membersnutrition.com super text line. Well, do you want Joe to go or not? Well, I am a definitive no. I don't want Joe to go anywhere, which is why I cranked up Operation Save Joe. I think the best case to be made for the future of the United States of America is with Donald J. Trump as president of the United States. And I think the best case that you can make for Donald Trump to be president of the United States if he's running against Joe. I think Donald Trump dispatches of any of the Democrats that I've heard of. But I think Joe is the easiest of them. In the meantime, whistleblowers coming out claiming that the Secret Service protection of Donald Trump last Saturday, not at all adequate. More on that, I'm certain, with Brian Wilson and The Drive this afternoon. Brian joins us to preview what's coming up on The Drive. Hello, Brian.
Hey, how you doing? Look, there's so many stories out there that we're trying to keep an eye on that it's just like juggling balls. It's like herding cats trying to keep up with it all. But to me, I think that the definitive story today is Biden in or out. And there's a meeting, a phone call that Kamala Harris is supposed to be having this afternoon with major donors. At the same time, staff for the Biden campaign has been required to attend a all hands on call. We don't know what that means. Officially, the word is no, he's not getting out. But I don't, listen, they will say that until they don't. And until they get the definitive word, the people who go out and defend the president are going to continue to defend the president until they know for sure otherwise. And I still feel like something is on the up and up there. We could hear something this afternoon. I think it's entirely possible we hear something from the weekend. Still a lot of signs out there that something is in the works.
I get the feeling, you told me yesterday that your spidey senses were tingling on high alert. And I trust those senses because you've been around the block or two in Washington, D.C. You've seen a lot of things over there. And there comes a point where all of this starts rolling downhill to the point where the Biden people couldn't stop it if they wanted to.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And the thing about it is that there is always this thing that happens with people who are, involved in some kind of event. I mean, I've seen this in Supreme Court nominations and other nominations that, the nominee is in trouble, right? And everybody seems to know that the nominee is in trouble except the nominee. And it just goes on and on and on until it reaches critical mass. And I feel like we're reaching critical mass right now.
Well, we look forward to the commentary on The Drive with Brian Wilson, no doubt reflecting on last night's and this week's RNC, the culmination happening last night with Donald Trump's speech. And we've got 4 full hours of the man himself, Brian Wilson, and The Drive. That's right after John Michael's newscast, which is coming right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hope you have a wonderful weekend, folks. Hope you hug those loved ones. Hug them tight. And hopefully we will not have the same type of political activity this weekend that we had last weekend. God forbid. Have a good weekend, friends. We'll see you Monday out at the Hermitage Golf Course for the 2nd annual Rudy Kalis Golf Classic. That starts at high noon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So long, everybody.